Om Namah Shivaya. Tonight's Shivaratri. So we'll sing some bhajans to Shiva tonight too. All one. And whoops, we are getting Instagram hooked up. Got to plug it in. Good, okay. Pranavam Pavanakuma Kalabana Pavaka Gyanagan Jasu Hrdadayaga Vasiram Sarachabadhar Atulita Baladhama Himmashala Badeham Nurjavarna Krishna Jnani Nama Graganyam Sakala Guna Nidhana Vanaranam Madhisham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Vatajatam Namami Koshpadi Kritavarisham Mashiki Krita Rakshasam Ramayana Mahamalaratnam Vande Nilatmajam Anjananandaram Viram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisam Akshahantar Vande Lanka Ankaram Langa Sindhu Salilam Salilam Yashokavahi Janakatma Jaya Adatane Dadahalanka Amamitam Pranjali Ranjanim Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Vardashtam Vathatmajam Vanardutam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadye Anjaneya Matipatkalan Kanchanadrikamaniya Vigraham Parijata Taramula Vasanam Bhavehami Pavamananandanam Yatra Yatra Raghunath Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Kritamastakhanjali Vashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Martinamat Rakshasantakam Bolo Bajranga Bale Hanuman Ki Jai. The Tulsidas version of the Ramayana is a story within a story within a story. And it starts out with Shiva and Parvati sitting up on Mount Kailash, hanging out. And Shiva comes out of Samadhi. And as he comes out of Samadhi, he mutters, as they say, Ram, 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 Ram. So Parvati, a question arises in her mind. And she says to Shiva, she said, "Oh, dear husband, what is this name that whose name is it that you speak when you come out of Samadhi?" So from that question, the whole story of the Ramayana unfolds as Shiva answers her. And so I won't get into it now, but it's the point I was trying to make is that as they say, Shiva always remember Ram. And Ram was always remembering Shiva, remembering in the sense of meditating on, holding in their hearts. And one of the things that happens is Shiva says to Parvati, she says, "You know, my beloved Ram is going to do a big Leela down there on earth, and I'm going to go down and help out." And Parvati says, "Wait a minute, you're going to leave me?" And he says, "No, sweetie, I'm not going to leave you. I'm just going to send my energy down to help Ram." And he sends his energy through the wind god. And the wind god transmits that energy to Anjani, Hanuman's mother, who gives birth to Hanuman. And Hanuman is considered to be an aspect, a form of Shiva, actually. The 11th Rudra. And it has a very wrathful face because Hanumanji takes form to help Ram destroy the negativity in the world. So that you have to be wrathful to destroy that. So So if we're going to sing to Ram, let's imagine that we are Shiva, singing to our beloved. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Sita Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Ram Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Ram Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai 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 Ram Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Ram Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai 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 Ram Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama Rama Ram Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram 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 Sita Ram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai 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 Ram Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 Hare Rama 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 Sita Rama 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 So many years ago, in the, must have been in the 80s. Yeah, I think it was. I was in India and with some other Western devotees, and we went to Benares with Mr. and Mrs. Tiwari, or maybe just Mr. Tiwari. And Benares is an incredible city. It's right on the banks of the Ganga. And all the whole, on the, I guess it's the western bank, it's ashram after ashram and temple after temple, and they have the steps, the ghats, going down to the water. And every morning people come down and take their bath in the Ganga, and in the evening, and the sun sets and the sun rises are so extraordinary. And one thing you can do is you go out on a boat, a rowboat, and the boatman rows you down the river as the sun's setting and golden color. It's just so beautiful. So one time we were out there in one of these boats, and it was extraordinary quiet. Just the atmosphere was so charged and sweet and open, and I noticed these two little rowboats coming towards us. Now that there's these priests who have these little boats, and if you go out on a boat, they come rowing out after you, so they can get some money for doing like a little puja in the middle of the river. So they were coming towards us. There were two of them. And I thought, oh God, all right, we'll have to deal with these guys. So they both had boom boxes on their little boats, their little rowboats, and they're frantically rowing towards us, getting closer and closer, and we started hearing music from their boom boxes. They got really close, and we could hear, they were playing me. They were playing me. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to sink the boats in the middle of the river. But anyhow, here's what they were playing. Har Har Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Har Har Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Har Har Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Har 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 Mahadev Shambho. Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara 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 Mahadev Shambho Hara 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 Mahadev Shambho. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Bam Bam Mahadev Shambho Hara Bam Bam Mahadev Shambho Kashi Vishwanath Gange. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Hara Hara. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Hara 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 Mahadeva Shambho. Hara 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 Mahadeva Shambho. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Hara Hara. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Hara Hara. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Hara Hara. Hara 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 Mahadeva Shambho. Hara 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 Mahadeva Shambho. Hara Hara Mahadeva Shambho Kashi Vishwanatha Gange. Living in India with Maharaji, we began to absorb the way the devotees related to him, how they saw him. And most of the devotees saw him as Hanuman, as an incarnation of Hanuman himself. And that's how and why we learned the Hanuman Chalisa, and he always had Ramcharita recited every Tuesday. Usually just Sundarakand, the part of the beautiful chapter is called about Hanuman. But some of the old devotees some of those old devotees that were really unusual, they seemed to have something going on, you know. They worshipped him as Shiva. And it was quite amazing. For instance, Mr. Tiwari, he used to do Shiva pujas that lasted 3 or 4 hours. And he had taken a vow. His puja guru, who was also a very great saint, who taught him all the pujas, told him that once he sits down to start his puja, he cannot get up until he finishes. He has to complete it no matter what's happening. And he kept that vow his whole life. He told me one time he was walking with Maharaji in Lucknow, near one of the temples, near where later one of the Hanuman temples was built. But in those days there was just a small little temple by the river. And they were walking by the river, and Maharaji says, okay, you sit down, you do your puja, because it was Monday, and I guess he did his Shiva puja every Monday. So Tiwari said, no, I won't do that. I said, no, you sit down and do your puja. And Tiwari said, no, I won't do that. Maharaji says, I'm telling you to do that. Why won't you do that? Because the minute I sit down, and you know, once I sit down, I have to finish the whole 3-4 hours. You know, the minute I sit down, you'll run away and leave me here alone. And Maharaji laughed and he said, Nina, I won't do that, I won't do that. And Tiwari said, I don't believe you, you will. The minute I sit down, you'll run away. So he made Maharaji hold his ears, which is like cross my heart, hope to die, hold his ears and promise that he wouldn't run away. So Tiwari sits down, and Maharaji sits in front of him, and he begins to do these mantras to Shiva. Incredible mantras and Shiva puja. And Maharaji sat there like a stone for 4 hours. And the minute Tiwari finished his last Om, Maharaji jumps up and says, you wicked guy, keeping me here like this, I have work to do. And he ran away, you know. But I traveled all over India with Tiwari. And if we were just driving along the road and he saw a Shiva temple and off the road, we would stop the car and he'd go in and he'd sit down, and it could be hours until he got up, and I'd have to sit there. And, you know, sometimes, I mean, one time we went into this little temple, little Shiva Ling temple, and the floor was covered with water. There was like 3 or 4 inches of dirty, yucky, slimy water with all these creepy crawlers floating around in it. To where he gets down and he bows down to the lingam and he pranams, and then he sits down and he starts to do puja. And I had to get in there in that water. It was so horrible. So horrible. But extraordinary. So there was another devotee of Maharaji's named, he was from Aligarh. And he was very poor man, simple, little gruff. Vishwambar was his name. And he would come to the temple, to Kenchi from Aligarh, which is down on the plains. He'd come to the temple. And he'd bring all the accoutrements for puja, you know, the plate and the little lamp and the wicks and to do arti. And he would stand outside of Maharaji's door waiting. And he might wait for hours. He would just stand there. And Maharaji would be inside and saying, oh, Vishwambar's out there. I don't want to go. He's going to do puja, you know, he'll be... So finally he would come out and Vishwambar would start to wave the lights, and he'd start to do his puja. And at the end of his puja, he would sing this Shiva Arti. And I don't know the whole Arti, but I know just a few lines from it. And he would sing and he'd sing and he'd sing, and he would just go into samadhi, and he would stand there like in absolute bliss. It was so extraordinary. This is how we learned about devotion. We saw it with our own eyes. We saw it, we experienced it, we were right there. We saw how real it is. We absorbed. It was just extraordinary. And then he would come down in a samadhi, he'd be whacked out of his mind, you know. And he'd be walking around, he'd look at the Westerners, you know, and he'd say, "Where are you people from? Which heaven world are you from? You are gods, you've incarnated here on earth, you know, to be with Maharaji." He was completely nuts, but it was so great, so much juice. So, this is a little bit of that type, that kind of arti that he used to sing. Sorry, allergy season has arrived here. It's the same melody as Jaya Shiva Omkara, as Jaya Jagadisha Hare. The words are Jaya Shiva Omkara, Hara 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 Mahadev. Om Jaya Shiva Omkara, Jaya Hara Shiva Omkara, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Hara Hara Mahadev. Jaya Shiva Omkara, Jaya Shiva Omkara, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Shiva Omkara, Jaya Hara Shiva Omkara, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Hara Hara Mahadev. Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev. Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Shiva Omkara, Jaya Shiva Omkara, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Shiva Omkara, Jaya Shiva Omkara, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev. Sadashiva Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Shiva Omkara Jaya Hara Shiva Omkara Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Shiva Omkara Jaya Hara Shiva Omkara Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Shiva Omkara Jaya Hara Shiva Omkara Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Shiva Omkara Jaya Hara Shiva Omkara Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Om Jai Shiva Omkara Jaya Hara Shiva Omkara Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Brahma Vishnu Sadashiva Hara 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 Mahadev Jaya Hara 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 Mahadev Like I said before, the Ramcharitamanas, or the Tulsidas Ramayan, is presented as a story within a story within a story. And it's the story of It's the story of, let's see exactly how it goes. I don't remember, but like I said, Parvati asks Shiva about who he's remembering all the time, and Shiva says, it's Ram, and Parvati says, like, what's the deal with this guy? And Shiva goes, well, I can't really tell you the whole story. Why don't you go to the king of birds, Garuda, and he knows the whole story, and he'll tell it to you. So Garuda comes and starts to tell the whole story of Ram. And Parvati asks him, how did you hear this story, and how did you did you come to know it? And something happened with Garuda, and I forget exactly what it was. I'm a great devotee. And he was told to go to the king, to this crow. There was a crow who lived on a mountain. And he's the one who knows the whole story of Ram. And that Garuda should go to him to hear the whole story. So he went to this crow, whose name was Kakabasundi. And he approached him, and Kakabasundi was sitting there under a tree telling these stories of Ram to these other birds who had congregated around him. And he welcomed the king of birds. Garuda is the king of the birds. And Garuda said, could you please tell me this story? And Kakabasundi said, sure. So then after the story was over, Garuda asked Kakabasundi, how is it that you know this story? I mean, and how is it that you're here, a crow, and you're sitting here on this mountain and you know this story? I don't understand. So Kakabasundi told his story to Garuda. And his story was that he was a disciple of Shiva. And he had a very good guru, a very kind, loving guru. But as a disciple, he was very arrogant. And he didn't like devotees of Vishnu. And he was a very nasty guy, very arrogant guy. But his guru was so kind and loving to him. So the crow says one day he was sitting in the Shiva temple, meditating. And his guru walked in. And the crow, Kakabasundi, as a man, pretended that he didn't know his guru had come in the temple and didn't get up out of respect for the guru. And at that instant, Shiva manifested and came through the lingam and manifested right there in the temple. And he points to this arrogant disciple and he said, I curse you for the disrespect you've shown to your guru. I curse you. You will be born a crow, and you will be born a crow and you will remain a crow for eons. So the guru was horrified because he loved his disciple so much. And he prayed to Shiva to take back the curse. And it's a very beautiful prayer, and I'm going to sing it for you right now. But at the end of the prayer, Shiva said to him, okay, I can't take back the curse, but I can change it. So yes, you will be born as a crow for eons, but you will be a perfect jnani. You will be an enlightened being, and more than that, you will be witness to all the leelas of Ram in all the different universes. You will be able to see how Ram takes a form in every universe to alleviate suffering. You will see the Ramayana in every universe, and you will be able to tell people these stories. So that was what happened. So Kakavasundi that's what happened. He was born as a crow, but he was a fully enlightened being as a crow. And he was witness to all the ways that Ram manifests and takes avatar in all the universes. In our universe, Ram looks like a man. In other universes, he looks like whatever those beings look like. Don't ask me. So this is that prayer, and it's called the Rudrashtak, Rudrashtakam, or the, what else? There's another name for it, but that's what it's called, Rudrashtakam. I forgot the melody. Take a drink of water, and maybe my mind will come back. The other name is called the Shiva Stuti. Namami Shamesha Niravana Rupam Vibham Vyapakam Brahma Veda Swarupam Nijam Nirgunam Nirvikalpam Nireham Chitakasham Akashavasam Vajeham Akaram Omkaram Ulam Turiyam Gira Jnana Gotirtamisham Girisham Karalam Mahakala Kalam Kripalam Gunagar Samsara Param Natoham Sharadri Sankash Karam Gabiram Manobhut Koti Prabha Shri Sariram Swaran Molikalo Nicharu Ganga Lasadbha Balendu Kante Bhujanga Chalat Kundalam Bru Sunetram Vishalam Prasananam Nilakantam Dayalam Nagadisha Charamam Baram Mundamalam Priyam Shankaram Sarvanatam Bhajan Prachandam Prakrishtam Pragalbam Padesham Akandham Ajambhanu Kote Prakasham Triyashula Niramulanam Shulapani Bhajeham Bhavani Pate Bhavaganyam Kalatita Kalyana Kalapantakari Sadasa Janananda Data Purari Chitananda Sando Mohapahari Prasida Prasida Prabho Manamatari Nayava Gumanatha Padaravindam Bhajanti Loke Pareva Narana Natavat Sukham Shanti Santapanasham Prasida Prabhu Sarvabhuta Devasam Najanam Yogam Chapam Neva Pujam Natoham Sada Sarvada Shambhutubhyam Jara Janma Dukhoga Tatapyamanam Prabhu Pahi Appanna Namami Shambho Udrashtakamidam Proktam Viprena Hartoshe Ye Patanti Nara Bhaktya Tesham Shambhu Prasidite Karpuragaram Karunavataram Samsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Hridayarabinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Dada Shiva Shambho Dada Shiva Shambho Sada Shiva Shambho Sada Shiva Shambho Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Sadashiva Shambho Shiva Shambho Sadashiva 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 Sadashiva, Shambhu Sadashiva. Shambhu 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 Sadashiva, Shambhu Sadashiva Shambhu Sadashiva Shambhu Sadashiva. Tonight we have to stop on time at 9 because there are people joining us from all around the world for Shivratri. So we'll take a few questions and then we'll sing some more. Question for KD, how do I meditate? Is there a specific way or a better way to meditate? Sometimes I chant God's name in my heart in an imaginary mala. Is that also meditation? Meditation is a really big subject, but very simply, it comes down to, at first at least, calming the mind. Coming back from dreamland and coming back home to oneself again and again and again until one gets somewhat familiar with the feeling of being at ease within oneself. Whoa, got a cramp. So anything that helps you slow down, the repetition of God's name, watching your breath, counting your breath, repeating the name silently, moving your mouth, or repeating the name actually in a whisper, or singing the name if it's convenient to do that. This is all meditation practice, essentially. So that's all, it's all good. Find one practice that you feel comfortable doing, and don't try to make anything happen, okay? Don't manipulate, don't expect fancy, nice, big emotional this or that, and lights to come on and everything. Just slow down. Everything is here. This is where we have to find out where that is. So that's the way one should start. And Katie, somebody says, no, where was that other question here? Does a yogi have to be completely abstinent to make progress? Well, I certainly hope not. I certainly hope not. No, one does not have to be completely abstinent. In fact, trying to be celibate and be busy in the world is very difficult, and it can create a lot of tension inside. Really, so many of our issues as Westerners is that we can't accept all the different parts of ourselves. There's so much self-loathing and self-hatred, self-judging, and we think if we do this, we'll be good, and if we don't do that, we'll be good. You know, take it easy. Take it easy on yourself, really. Don't try to fit yourself into some intellectual mold that you think is holy. That's not the case. Each one has to find what works for us. There are periods where I've been celibate for years because the situations that I was in were conducive to that. One of those times was in India with Maharaji. I just wasn't interested. I just wanted to be with him. So it was not much of a problem. Ha ha ha. It wasn't that difficult. It was possible. But if I had been in America between the ages of 23 and 20, Yeah, 23 and 26. Forget about it. But in India at that time, doing what I was doing, I think it was a good vacation from the neurosis. The men in the boat in that story did not recognize me. They didn't know it was me. I didn't know it was me. But they were this is what they were doing. They were playing that Hara Hara Mahadev to anybody who, as they were floating on the river. I guess they liked it. No, they didn't know it was me. I didn't tell them anything on the boat. I just gave them 10 rupees to put some flowers in the water and make a little thing, and then told them to go away. How was Mahashivratri with Maharaji? I don't think I was ever with Maharaji on Mahashivratri. That was during the winter time, and he used to travel in the winter. I don't remember being with him, but I could have been, but I don't remember. And same with Siddhima. In the winter, she was usually traveling in places. But I was with Tiwari for many different Shivratris. And it was incredible. For Shivratri, he and his wife would do 4 Shiva pujas in a row. And it would take them about 12 hours. And they would sit there and not get up. And he would be chanting the mantras, and she would be ringing the bell and making the offerings and doing all kinds of things. And he'd be chanting the mantras. And there's a long story about that I could tell. We don't have time now, but one time I actually went out of my mind. Oh, one of many times, but it was incredible. Incredible. So the Leela is there to bring up the evil in the world and destroy it. How to destroy it? Well, when you're God, you'll know. We just do the best we can. Those Leelas are God's Leelas. They're the Leelas of the universe purging itself of negativity. We don't know. But we have all those things within us: greed, shame, fear, aggression, anger, selfishness, shame. We have all these things within us, all these negative emotions. So the same thing goes on inside when we purify our hearts, when we clean the mirror of our hearts. And how do you do that? Connecting with the deeper place within us. Doing some practice, spiritual practice. I feel I'm at a breaking point, a slave to my emotional attachments, and can't find any purpose in life. Any advice? I feel lost. Look in the mirror. You're not lost. You just don't like what you're feeling. That's called attachment to negative emotions, identifying with negative feelings. They are not who you are, but we are glued to them because we've been glued to them for eons. So one has to do some practice. One has to work with one's negativity to release it, and one to try to understand where it comes from to some degree so one can release it. But you're not lost, you're right here. You're always here. Where else could you be? You're here, aren't you? You just don't like it. That's the whole thing. So if you don't like it, that's called suffering. How do you relieve suffering? How do you find freedom from suffering? Do some practice. When you have strayed so far from the divine, how do you feel worthy enough to return? Same story. Negative stories we tell ourselves. They are not true. They are absolutely not true. But we believe them. Each one of us has that internal, inner, indwelling presence. The love that lives within us is who we are. But we're turned away from it. But that doesn't mean it's not here. And that doesn't mean it's not more real than what we think is real. So one learns to slowly turn and move more deeply into oneself. You're never far away from God because God lives within you as who you are, who you truly are, not who you think you are or emotionally feel you are. So, but we're attached to those, identified with those feelings, so it's very painful. Do some practice. Do some chanting. Do some sitting. Quiet the breath. Do some asana. Do some pranayama. Do whatever you can to lighten yourself up a little bit. And don't try to get away from those negative feelings. You can't get away from them, but you can learn to let them go again and again. Again and again. How do you know that you're awakening? Well, I don't think you do. But if you're more kind to other people, and if you don't obsess about yourself all day long, that's a good sign. My daughter wants to know, what do I recommend beginning for meditating and chanting for a 7-year-old? She is tuning in with me tonight. She has trouble sitting still for 5 minutes. Me too. So you don't have to sit still. You don't have to be like this to meditate. You can move, you can dance, you can have fun. But when you're moving and dancing, so you put on the chanting, right? And you're dancing to the music. Enjoy. And when you notice that you're thinking about other things, just come back to the feeling of dancing. And if you decide to sit down for a while and listen to the chanting, just listen to the music, listen to the chanting. And then you might notice that you're not paying attention. You're thinking about other things. Then just simply come back again to the music. But don't try to sit still like this. That's not going to, why would you do that? That's no fun. So just take it easy, be at ease, be gentle with yourself, and just treat people well, you know. Just try to treat other people the same way that you would like to be treated, even if they aren't so nice. That's the trick. That's a big thing. Okay? Good luck. During the movie, the Windfall of Grace, I mentioned that there were 4 or 5 things that Maharaji said people need. No, that's not what he said. He said, you've heard of Ashtanga Yoga, the 8-limbed yoga, right? Maharaji said the Westerners were qualified for the 5-limbed yoga. And those 5 limbs were eating, drinking tea, wandering around, sleeping, and yapping and talking all the time about everything. That's what he meant by gossiping. That was what the Westerners were qualified for, the 5-limbed yoga, which we participated in very intensely. Can I explain the symbolism of the plaid blanket? It's not symbolism. These are the blankets Maharaji wore. He always had a plaid blanket. Sometimes when it was very hot out, he either had a white sheet or a lightweight shawl. But in the colder times, he wore a plaid blanket all the time. Are you considering Zoom meetings to have more personal interaction with people? This Saturday, we are doing almost every other Saturday, we do what we call chai and chat. We used to do it in person in the city in New York, but since we can't do that now, We do it as a Zoom meeting. And everybody's online and can see everybody, and we talk about things. People talk, we talk. So if you're interested in that, just go to my website. What is Bhang, and why is it spiritual prasad on this day? Well, you know, Bhang is a preparation of marijuana, and the leaves are ground up into a paste, and you can put spices in there and all kinds of things. You grind up in the paste, and then you put it in a drink, usually yogurt or fruit juice, and you blend it all up, and that's called Bhang. And supposedly, and the reason it's become like a thing on Shivratri is that it's said that Shiva smokes charas, hash, all the time. But Maharaj used to say, when you can drink poison like Shiva did, then you can smoke charas. So it's just a thing. It's a cultural thing. People do it. It's kind of like presents on Christmas. It's not really what Christmas is about, but culturally it's become a thing. Is it necessary to sit with enlightened souls or those who remember or vibrationally at a special level? No, that your own heart is all you need. And once you start to seek that presence in your own being, things will come to you in life that will be helpful for you. They arrive in your life because you need them, and they come. But one can't say that it's necessary. It's a great blessing when you meet someone who's a very good saint, and just being in the presence of somebody like that can be very wonderful experience. But we already have everything we need inside of us. So that's the main thing to remember. Guru, God, and self are one, are not different. The real Guru is inside. The real Guru is the light that lives within us as our true nature. That Guru may take an external form to help us if it's necessary, but it's not necessary most of the time for most of us. Oh, well, like I say, we have to stop at 9 tonight. How old was Maharaji when he passed, and how did he die? He appeared to be in his 70s. And according to, well, we know his family now. We didn't then, but we know his family. So from his family history, we understand that he was born around 1900. And it appeared that he died of a heart attack. But that's not the whole story, although it's certainly one story. So I'll tell you one quick story. So we were in Allahabad at Dada Mukherjee's house. And every winter, Maharaji would come and spend a lot of time there. One day we were in the big room, and a lot of devotees were there, and we were all chanting, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. And as we were chanting, these two young men came in the room, Indian men, and sat down by the door in the back of the room. And Maharaji saw them, and he said to them, go back and bring the old lady. Go on, go get the old lady. So they left. They came back an hour or so later with a very, very old woman. And the story was that one of those boys was her nephew, or great-nephew. And they lived in a little village outside of Allahabad, and they had heard that Neem Karoli Baba was there. And they knew that the boy knew his aunt loved sadhus. So they stopped at her house to ask her if she wanted to come to meet Neem Karoli Baba. And this woman, who was definitely at least mid-80s, she said to them, Neem Karoli Baba? Oh, he's long gone now. He was my grandfather's guru. And when I was a child of 8 years old or so, I used to sit in his lap. So he's long gone. This must be some imposter. So she didn't come. Then the two guys came, and Maharaji saw them and said, go bring the old lady. So now they came back with the old lady, and they came in the room and sat down. Maharaji got up right away and went into his other room, his bedroom, and he called them in. And the old lady was like, she was looking at him like, she was going, Baba, Baba, how could this be? How could you be here, Baba? How could this be? And he was saying, Ma, shut up. Shh, be quiet. Don't talk. Don't say anything. Quiet, quiet. But she was just overcome with emotion, and she just kept saying, Baba, how could this be? How could this be? And finally he said, Ma, I died and I was reborn in the hills. Now shut up. So then he gave them prasad and sent them away. Now Dada went quickly around the back way and caught them at the gate, the entrance to the house, and that's how we got this whole story. This woman said she used to sit in Maharaji's lap when she was 8 years old. He was her grandfather's guru, and he looked exactly the same then as he did now. But she did not remember the blanket. What can I tell you? That's a true story. What does it mean? I don't know. So how old is he? I have no idea. All right. So this Saturday, 2 o'clock New York time, we're going to have that Zoom meeting, the Chai and Chat. The next weekend, March 20th, 19th and 20th, we're doing a virtual retreat with Sharon Salzberg, and that's hosted by Kripalu. And then we'll be doing Thursdays online. It says here, the first online satsang was March 26, 2020. Wow, really? We never missed anything? I guess not. Wow, that's amazing. And there are 49 recordings of these satsangs. They're all up on a playlist on YouTube/Krishna Das Music. So there you go. Om Namah Shivaya. Namastestu Rundrarupebhyaha. Tatpurukaya Vidamahe Mahadevaya Dhimahi Tanno Rudraha Prachodayat. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shanta Nirambaya Tejase Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Namaha. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Vidya Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Arunachala Deva Namah Shivaya. Arunachala Shiva Namah Shivaya. Arum Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya. Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Shambho Shankara Namah Shivaya, Girija Shankara Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Namaha. Shivaya Namaha. Thanks for coming, singing tonight, joining in this open heart space that we truly live in. If we know anything about a path at all, it's only because of the great beings that have gone before us. Out of their love, out of their kindness, they left some footprints for us to follow. So in the same way that they wish for us, we wish that all of us, all beings, same way that they wish for us, we wish that all of us live in peace, that all of us have good health, and that all of us live at ease of heart with whatever comes to us in life. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namah Shivaya. Namaste.